All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna go for a drive in the Grabber Blue today. My all analog 2013 Shelby GT500. And I hit a milestone in this car the other day. I hit 25,000 miles on it. So if you haven't seen the updates on my Instagram, I would recommend you go check that out. 25,000 miles in 8+ years of ownership with this car. So pretty significant. It's that one car, you know, if you follow the channel for quite a bit of time, this is that one car that I have the hardest time getting rid of, selling, whatever have you. And I've had a few offers over the years, some pretty nice offers, especially right now with the prices of these cars skyrocketing. It's very tempting for me to sell this thing, but I just can't bear myself to, you know, put this up for sale and say goodbye to it. It's given me such great pleasure in owning and racing this thing. We've had so many different half-mile events with this thing, and it's stronger than ever, strong as an ox. So I figure I'd take this time to give you my almost decade-old ownership experience on this car. And it just doesn't ever give me a reason to go sell it. You know, the only thing that it consumes is fuel, tires, and clutches. That's pretty much it. So as long as I have those accounted for, I'm okay. I'm currently on my center force diad clutch. I'm not really the biggest fan of this clutch compared to some of the other clutches I've had in the past. And I currently have my Spec ST out for rebuild. So as soon as that comes back, we may switch it out to the Spec ST, or maybe I'll just wait till I burn this one off and then switch it back to the Spec ST. But all in all, this car's been great. You know, I've had it with multiple different configurations. We've done half-mile events, we've done track days with this thing, we've done quarter-mile events with this thing, and it's given me nothing but pleasure driving it. You know, and every time I take it out of the garage, I have to stop and look at this thing because it's just gorgeous. The Grabber Blue and the black stripes, it hits the perfect way, and it feels like this car belongs in Venomous Garage, right? I don't know. I may end up selling this in the next couple of years or so, but like right now when I go drive this thing, you know, all my other cars now are automatics, or in the case of the 2020 GT500 and DCT trans. And I feel like if I get rid of this car, there's never going to be another opportunity for me to get back into a manual trans car. There's nothing out there that excites me. From a new car's perspective, the only thing that kind of piques my curiosity is that new Nissan Z, you know, the 400ZX or whatever they call it. But that car's been, it's coming in manual. It's got that twin turbo 400 horsepower VQ engine. I have a VQ engine in my daily driver, which is an Infiniti Q70S. So, you know, pretty straightforward, reliable vehicles they are, and I think it would do well on a road course. But I'm not sure if I'm ready to get back into a vehicle with 400 horsepower after owning this thing with almost 700 rear-wheel horsepower over the years, right? That was the biggest dilemma I had with my GT350. It was a phenomenal car, very, very well balanced, but because of the flat plane crank and the power band being so high up in the rev range, I felt like the car was definitely missing, and it really justified me having this car side by side, because when I wanted to have the high horsepower monster, I'd get in this thing. When I'd want to go to the road course, I'd get in the 350. So when I bought the new 2020 GT500, I figured, hey, I have 760 horsepower, and it handles well, and it'll be the best of both worlds, and it would give me the opportunity to get rid of this one. However, as this car sits next to the 2020 GT500, and I swap seats between the two, I feel like this car provides that engaging analog experience that car simply does not. And don't get me wrong, I love my 2020 GT500. It is badass. It does great on the road course and a straight line, but there's something about the mechanical engagement of shifting gears when you want to that really is only satisfied with a car like this. So I don't know, I may end up selling this in a couple of years, but for right now, this car is awesome. Still makes good power, 700 horsepower. Just like that, right? Makes all the right noises. Figured I'd take you guys along for a ride, do some quick pulls with this thing, enjoy my 25k miles that I've made with this car, and I hope to experience a lot more. Summer's coming up, drag radials are still good, they're gonna hook. We might do some more half-mile events with this thing. We'll see. The exhaust note, I think, is exquisite in this thing, and all I had to do was do an MRT off-road H-pipe. Still had the stock cat back, and I try not to be as obnoxiously loud, and the biggest reason I did the MRT is so I can delete the cats and eliminate the catalytic converter protection on the tune, which robs some horsepower. So I'm glad I was able to do that. Back when tuners used to be able to mess with cat deletes and such. Oh man, this thing's awesome. Keeps on pulling torque for days. It definitely makes more power than my 2020 does. But the 2020 puts the power down to the ground a lot better. Fourth gear, about 3.5 RPMs here. Alright, let's do a quick pull, see what we can do here. Up on you on this thing. It is awesome. I love the supercharger whine that the JLT cold air intake does, and that's worked well on the 2020 as well. You can hear the supercharger whine a lot better now since I've done the JLT cold air intake. I think as the years have progressed, there's definitely more research and technology behind the cold air intake, because I can tell this car will heat soak 127mm JLT cold air intake that it has on there, whereas the new car, it seems to be sealed off completely. What a cool car, and what a cool experience for me to be able to have this for 25,000 miles. Anyway, what do you guys think? Should I get rid of this car, or should I keep it for the long term here? Because really, I don't really get to play a lot with this car unless it's just me by myself in the back roads just throwing gears. What should be the next step for this thing? We're at 16 pounds of boost, VMP Gen 2 supercharger, Nitto NT05 drag radials. I'm at stock 331 gears, aftermarket clutch, off-road H-pipe, and that's pretty much all I have in this thing. 91 octane tune, that's because all I get around here. I don't really want to go towards an E85 setup. You know, I think in the long term it creates issues with maintenance and such, and I have my hands full with, you know, family and the other car to really concentrate on and do the due diligence on maintenance intervals on this car. And as it stands right now, we barely put 1,000, maybe 2,000 miles a year. So other than the annual oil change, I really don't have to do much with this thing. You know, it is due for a you know, full fluid exchange in this thing. So water, differential fluid, trans fluid, brake fluid, all those need to be cycled out, freshened up. Okay, here we go. All the way through second gear there. Simply badass, simply badass. Do a pull to the moon, baby. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did putting it together, getting reacquainted with the power, the driving characteristics, and the overall sensation of driving in this car. Now, I always say that you shouldn't hold on to cars. You shouldn't be committed to cars because you've already committed to your wife or significant other or whatever. But every time you sit behind the wheel on this thing, it gives you a reason to hang on to it. And that's what I love about this car. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.